Hunter x Hunter is officially back from a 2-year hiatus, and I am so happy to finally come back and talk about Hunter x Hunter, one of my all-time favorite anime and manga of all time. Now, if you've been around for the channel for over 2 years now, you would have known that I actually covered the last batch of Hunter x Hunter chapters for the most part, but I ended up stopping due to, copyright stuff from Shueisha, which is why I'm doing this type of video content on the channel more for my chapter reviews to help avoid that, so I can actually talk about the stuff that I actually want to talk about and not have to worry too much about things. But this chapter, best chapter to start things off. Explosive chapter, even though it wasn't action-based. It had a bunch of reveals. We had some good artwork from Togashi, and this makes the succession contest even bigger and more complex than I initially thought, but not in a way that I would actually complain about, because this exposition and the information that we got in this chapter makes this even more interesting, and I like the succession contest. It's very interesting with strategy and negotiations, but this throws a wrench in things. This makes things more interesting to the point where I'm like, this information could not only either expand it, but also potentially end up making the succession contest quicker than we initially thought. So I'll get into that when we get into the actual chapter. Before we jump into things, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps in the showcases you guys enjoy the content I make on the channel and shows you want to see more. Also, if you want to see me talk about other anime and manga, go and check out my manga podcast, Shonen Pulse, over on the Panel Focus YouTube channel, where me, Yatogami, Papa Trophy, and Nox talk about a bunch of different manga from multiple different magazines that aren't Hunter x Hunter. So you'll have a good time. I want to try and get that to over 1,000 by the end of the year in terms of subscribers. It's a lot of fun. You guys will definitely enjoy it. We go in-depth on all of these different chapters to an absurd degree, and it is a lot of fun. But out of the way, let's jump into the chapter. Actually, before I want to jump into the chapter, let me just add something, because Togashi has actually stated he wants to get the chapter 430 by the end of the year, meaning that he wants to have 30 chapters done in publication by the end of the year. Right now, I believe he's already finished about 20 chapters, up to chapter 420, and he's about starting chapter 421, 422, I believe. So, if he does get up to chapter 430 and then goes for a break for a few months or another year, if anything, which I say good, if you're going after a 2-year hiatus, you're going to get 30 chapters, I say take a break. If you need to take another break, go right ahead. Hunter x Hunter fans fully understand that Togashi definitely needs that break. But if he does do that, we got 30 chapters of Hunter x Hunter. That's like not counting breaks from the magazine's basic breaks, that's like about 5 months worth of Hunter x Hunter content. That's bad math, but that's just a guesstimate at this point. We just do 30 straight weeks of Hunter x Hunter. But yeah, about 5 months or so roughly almost half a year, which is crazy to think about. And that's the most Hunter x Hunter chapters we've gotten in a little while since that 4-year break a couple of years back. But man, this is crazy. I'm so happy, and I cannot wait to talk more Hunter x Hunter, because if this does well and if I'm able to keep this up, we're going to be talking Hunter x Hunter a lot more. But moving on to the chapter, we're going to end up starting off with Kurapika's divination tests. And we actually meet a new bodyguard who is working with the 5th Prince, Tabepa, and actually wants to start a alliance, a peace treaty with Kurapika. Heck, in order to foster trust, she ends up revealing that she is an end user, not the one that is using the snakes, which we all know is the assassin that is using the Nen ability, Silent Majority, to kill off people in the Nen class that Kurapika is doing, to sow dissent and also question Kurapika and see what's going on. Because it'll end up stopping the stalemate that Kurapika is aiming to do by teaching everybody Nen, and there'll be no real advantage in terms of surprise. Obviously, First Prince Benjamin's other guards are definitely picking up on this and noticing what's going on and how this can end up playing out with this character revealing Nen. Yeah, she wants to end up starting a treaty, but ends up talking about her Nen ability, which is called Moonlight Decree. It can bestow or limit the power of whoever signs the contract. And so she essentially wants this to be a way to foster trust, but also wants to tell Kurapika her true goal. The 5th Prince doesn't know that she is a Nen user, so this is definitely a bit of a secret. We'll definitely end up playing a bit more once we get into the contract. Kurapika brings out his Nen chained to discover whether or not that she's lying, to perform the test of telling truth and all that, to figure out if she is going to be telling the truth. He does pull up a gun, but like she stated, a gun isn't really going to do much to a Nen user, especially since she knows how to use 10. But kurapika says that his ability is for disclosing truth, basically sufficient for creating a simple contract between the two of them. Either way, she states that her true goal requires that she give kurapika even more power, which is why she wants him to listen to her full explanation on things before signing. And she drops the bombshell that she is beyond NETERO's biological daughter. That is a big bombshell, because she ends up revealing that there are a lot of children that Beyond NETERO has essentially birthed over the years. Many. Whenever there's a new prince, essentially, which is crazy to think about. She also had to say that plan was essentially for them to eventually become the prince's royal guards. Having awakened their Nen at birth, very important. Their Nen at birth is when they got their at birth is when they ended up awakening their Nen. They would easily pass the military tests because they had enhanced physical abilities due to Nen making things a lot easier, as long as there were no complications or anything out of the ordinary. She understood the true origin when she noticed that she hadn't inherited any traits from her adoptive father, so she knew something was up. She came to the conclusion that getting close to the future king must have been Beyond's goal when she realized that all of his children had ended up in similar positions. Now, that was the original plan. It's as she heard from a conversation between Beyond and her adoptive father. But they knew nothing of the true origins of the other siblings. Heck, even when she found out, she didn't really grasp the importance of it. She just thought it was basically something as a soldier with the unique past that, at least until the Selection War ended up beginning. She states that she moved into the dormitories before she could develop much of a relationship with her parents. Maybe because of that, she never really doubted their fanatical speeches about Beyond, and as they were just part of the government's brainwashing to reach a world unified under King, which the fact that dormitories showcase how great Beyond is shows just how much he's wormed his way into their culture and has just adopted things and has changed things with his strong relationship with the royal family and the king. The bodyguard goes on to states that, as she said, they awakened their Nen at birth. And once Nen is awakened at birth, most likely forcefully, they will immediately be able to activate 10 and Zetsu in order to rapidly protect them from any real harsh fatigue from awakening their Nen. So as we all know, there is definitely fatigue once you awaken Nen. But apparently, a way to get around that is awakening it at birth, because you'll instantly go into 10 and Zetsu naturally to compensate and to protect from that harsh fatigue. And that ends up enhancing the physical abilities, because, Nen users can end up augmenting their physical abilities by the manipulation of their Nen and aura to do a lot more superhuman feats, or to do more than the average person. So with this, the plan for Beyond was to have his kids essentially pass through all the physical assignments at the academy with baseless ease. But there was a side effect, as she states that her father had placed a curse on them. And man, this is very trippy. Now, I'm going to state verbatim what essentially she ended up coming to the conclusion to this when it came to her sister, and then get into the curse itself. So, she states verbatim, "It was my half-sister Mahaka who caught on first. She graduated from the second term, famed for its harshness, thanks to the second Prince Camilla, who just allowed discriminated individuals to join the royal army. She ended up noticing her parents started acting strangely after she dropped out. It was during her search for answers that she discovered that she was also posted as in Prince Camilla's squad. Only after the seat earn ritual began that they understood why they had highly renowned Nen users inspected. And it seems that the siblings were marked with seals." The bodyguard goes on and states that each one of them has been cursed with a terrifyingly dark Nen that activates after their deaths. And so she asks Kurapika, "Please, use Gyo and take a look." She opens her mouth, and within these pages and panels, with closer and closer close-ups, of her mouth, revealing underneath her tongue. And man, when Togashi really, and I mean when he really wants to give us some sort of body horror, he will do it. So detailed. Like, legitimately, it's terrifying to see. Well, yeah, we see a Nen mark for this Nen curse underneath the bodyguard's mouth, thus showcasing us a visual representation of this curse. And it is, yeah, it's terrifying. Very terrifying. So apparently the user claims that she's an appetizing sacrifice. What that means is just she's a potential sacrifice for whatever Beyond's grand plan is. It is just an assassination target with herself as the actual weapon, because there must be many of these appetizing sacrifices, and it's only natural to think that there must be even more of these unappetizing sacrifices as well. Her guess is that Beyond prepared many pawns to counter any number of princes. And what's interesting is that apparently burning or removing the parts that were cursed won't do anything. The curse marks will remain, and apparently Beyond converted them into the most efficient envoys of his curse. They're living sacrifices for whatever his plan is. She doesn't know what this ability truly is and who the actual target will be, but she's certain that they've been possessed in order to curse this specific person to death. Kurapika is asked by Bill, or at least, well, stated by Bill, if they take too long, people are going to get antsy and they're going to get suspicious. But Kurapika ends up stating that, okay, right now that is true, but we got to hear more of this to figure things out, otherwise he can't fulfill the contract and get into this alliance with Tebepa. The bodyguard continues to stay, that thanks to her half-sister Mahaka, Beyond didn't initiate any moves when she was released as a private guard, suggesting that their targets aren't necessarily the princes that these specific characters were assigned to. In fact, being close to the princes and by extension becoming a soldier in the first place might have been superfluous. Them becoming soldiers at the end of the day probably wasn't even fully necessary to begin with. They've had their entire lives manipulated from the moment of their birth by just incredibly cunning and just long con doing man that is beyond NETERO. I just cannot believe how much he is planning ahead and how many pieces he's placed into this. So yeah, even beyond Secret Children to an extent, don't even know the actual target of this Nen curse. But she does have a hypothesis that really does cement things. She states that the numbers can't be a coincidence. There are over 10 of these appetizing sacrifices and 14 princes. So it can't be sure who will essentially be killed, but it's clear that Beyond has a strong conviction to end the succession war. Most likely to have a specific, something that is mentioned most likely will get tied in, is that maybe an actual prince specifically is someone that he wants to win the succession war, and added his kids with these curses to make it easier on this specific person to win the war. And so they go over who it could possibly be, and Kurapika ends up coming up with the fact that maybe it's first Prince Benjamin, as if Beyond wants to get closer to the throne, the best choice would be Prince Benjamin. But the bodyguard says that probably isn't the case, because Beyond is a very cunning, cold-hearted person that has so much time to prepare. He wouldn't go with the easiest target out there. That wouldn't be his style. And it's then that Kurapika notices and figures out what this bodyguard is implying, stating that one of the princes of Kakin might actually be one of Beyond's children as well. So not only do we have a bunch of princes that are being targeted in a killing game to see who is the next king of Kakin. Not only in this chapter did we get the realization that a number of bodyguards and soldiers in Kakin, up to a number of princes, are Beyond's biological children. But now, it is being stated that it's very likely that one of Beyond's children is also a prince of Kakin in the succession war. This is unheard of. This isn't something that any of us have speculated, and this is a massive twist to throw at us after this break. Kurapika tries to confirm things with Queen Oito if this is possible with the conditions of the Succession War. She states that only Nasubi's legitimate children can participate, but she says, I suppose that could include children not actually fathered, not actually biologically the king's children. And it was actually stated at the beginning of the Succession War, because I look back, I did see like a thread on this. It was stated that they had to be the children of the illegal queens, like Queen Oito. Quite obviously can enter into the Succession War. So it doesn't matter if the actual child of Nasubi is one of the participants, is one of the princes, as long as they were raised and they are a legitimate child of one of the actual queens. So yeah, that is a massive loophole in the succession contest that Beyond NETERO is quite literally taking advantage of to end up winning. That is insanity. So yeah, that is something I did not expect to do. But we also essentially get Kurapika trying to lay people at ease when they're being asked that they're taking too long. He comes out and just flat out states, they're figuring out a contract for a peaceful resolution. They're trying to come up with a treaty. So don't worry, we'll be finished soon. And Benjamin's guards are wondering what's going on. It doesn't seem like silent majority is being used in there. And it doesn't seem like there's any signs of a Nen battle. It seems like this might actually be a flat out conversation. But back in the room, Kurapika goes on to further ask for more explanations and to keep going. So we end up going to the contract of sorts with this Nen ability, stating that her contract is a alliance between the 5th prince and as well as the 8th queen Oito and the 14th prince Wobble. And that this contract prohibits any attacks between the respective queens, princes, or their guards for the remaining time of the Succession War, mainly until one side is out. But it has to be renewed weekly, 9 a.m. on a Sunday at 10:14 every week. And if Kurapika's party infringes on this, then there will be a penalty. 1 week of forced Zetsu. It's a death sentence if you're stuck on a ship with a bunch of Nen users. If you don't have access to your Nen, you're donezo. Completely. And Kurapika knows this is a very big risk. But Kurapika also asks a very important question. Would any type of cooperative Nen being used on somebody be viewed as an attack? But the bodyguard states that as long as it's not intentionally being used to harm somebody, like for healing, it'll be fine. So there won't be any real repercussions if you try and heal someone or support them with Nen. But she ends up stating that the 5th prince won't nullify the contract one-sidedly. And she herself cannot activate the ability herself either. She also ends up adding some additional things. If Tepepa ends up retiring from the Succession War, as well as just the remaining competitors being 2 before Beyond's child has been found, as additional amendments to this contract. On the off chance that none of the princes are applicable, then the criteria will be met and a boon will be applied. Seemingly, I believe this is a type of compensation, saying the amendments will be annulled if Tepepa refuses to sign this contract, but if they continue with the inquiry and meet the criteria, she promises to start a new private contract with Kurapika and gives them the added benefit of being able to use her Nen ability one singular time. So if everything is met, if let's say, if they find Beyond's child, if they succeed, if they meet the criteria of this contract, Kurapika will get access to this. And if he starts a contract with somebody else, ideally maybe one of the princes, maybe one of their strong bodyguards, and maybe force them into breaking the criteria, they could end up forcing this powerful opponent, if they manage to get this far, into a forced state of Zetsu, thus making them a non-issue, a non-combatant. And he even states that she's telling the truth, as his chain hasn't budged. But before Kurapika signs this contract, she wants to tell Kurapika her real goal, her true desire for starting this and revealing all this to him. She states that if they find and confirm that one of the princes is Beyond's child, she wants to eliminate that person herself with her own hands. And man, she just exuded a bunch of aura. And I don't mean the actual, aura, the power system of the world of Hunter x Hunter. I mean, actually felt like a force to be reckoned with for a second. We know she's not going to do anything. She doesn't seem like to be an important character. She doesn't seem to be drawn to an extent that she would be an important character. But then again, it's Togashi, and he's already introducing her to introduce all this interesting stuff into the Succession War. She goes on to say that if only her father had shared his intentions with her. Even if the role that she has right now as a sacrifice was the same, she wouldn't have ever reached this resolve to take him down, to take out the child that is a prince. Man, that is insane. I did not expect to go in that direction whatsoever. And heck, we even got a bit of Kurapika's chain not moving, showing that she is resolute in her resolve to take out whichever prince is Beyond's child. Whew, man, that is insane. But we move on as the contract seemingly either has been signed or hasn't been signed just yet. I was going to wait to see what's going on with Prince Tabepa, and maybe if Kurapika really did agree to all the terms. We still haven't gotten any full-on confirmation or seeing Kurapika sign. But the bodyguard of Tabepa walks out, and Benjamin's guards notice that her aura hasn't really changed. No signs of an end battle whatsoever, but she's crying, and he goes through a bunch of mental gymnastics, trying to process the information, wondering, was this a fight? Was this the work of an assassin? No. Maybe they were trying to do a contract. Were they actually just doing an actual peace treaty, an actual sign of non-aggression? And so that does seem to be the case, as Kurapika is inviting the next bodyguard for Nen divination. Now, what's interesting was we get a bit of a mini panel or a bit of attention to one of Benjamin's guards that is there. The one that has been there more or less from the start with the poofy hair. I keep forgetting his name. There seems to be something up with it. And there is speculation that he might also be just like Tabepa's bodyguard, one of Beyond NETERO's children with the sacrifice and all that for one of the princes. That is possible. Maybe he realizes or maybe he found a way to overhear what was being said inside. Or maybe he just kind of knew. The cat's out of the bag. This doesn't seem like something that's going to be for nothing. So I'm curious to see where this is going to lead, because this is definitely important. Nothing in this arc is not important whatsoever for like 99% of the time. And this information is definitely going to be important for the rest of the series. But we move on to Beyond NETERO once more. We finally get to see Beyond for the first time literal years in the manga ever since we set sail on the Blackwell 1, chained up in his cell as he just finished a book. He just seemingly all rough and unkempt. With his long ass hair, he might need a shower from what I could tell with how his hair looks. Or I'm just being dumb. Either way, he's got an insane bedhead. He asks for another book. The Tiger Zodiac is guarding him, but he just tells him no. And even says no to paper and pen, because Beyond might want to write his own book, but for safety reasons, he can't use all that. But Beyond just retorts by saying, safety reasons? Literally, I could use this book to cave in your skull. It's Beyond NETERO, NETERO's child. Yeah, I don't doubt he can do that. But the Tiger Zodiac ends up asking if Beyond wants any requests. But he asks, I'd like to meet somebody. And that kind of ends the chapter right there. Not only did we get the reveal that Beyond has multiple children within the Kakian Empire that had their Nen awakened at birth, had a curse placed on them that once they die, they will basically kill whatever target there is. And also the fact that it's per prince, seemingly, but also the fact that one of the princes might also be one of Beyond's children. That is crazy. Now, obviously, people are going to think maybe it's Saradnik. He's very gifted. He's very powerful. He's a specialist. That might be the case. But Togashi might throw a curveball. Maybe it's Wobble, the person that Kurapika is guarding, because the contract literally is Chekhov's gun. Somebody is going to be placed in a forced to Zetsu for a week. That is most likely going to happen. It might be Kurapika. Crazy to think about, but that might be the case. And I'm curious to see if that will happen. But with the idea of Beyond just playing the long con in the Kakin Empire, altering things, weaseling his way into its political structure, into the royal family, having a child with one of the queens, and having them be part of the succession contest, and setting things up to potentially end this for maybe his own child to become the king, to become the new king, and set things up. Maybe he'll want to have something within the Kakian Empire, which will in turn help with his expedition of the Dark Continent. A whole lot of stuff just occurred here. Now, with the reveal of Beyond NETERO's kid and Beyond wanting to meet somebody, it'll either be a prince, it'll either be a bodyguard, maybe another Zodiac member. Who knows? There's a lot of possibilities that might get revealed next chapter, or we'll cut to maybe Hisoka for all we know. But yeah, crazy chapter, crazy reveals, and I'm wondering what's going to happen next. The Beyond NETERO child thing, it might be used for Togashi to either expand the arc even more, or used as a way to cleverly somehow find a way to make things go even quicker. Like once you discover the child, maybe beyond will talk to his child, maybe come up with a master plan to end the succession war even quicker, and reach his Claymaster a lot faster than initially intended. But again, we still have the Mafia stuff, we still got the Phantom Troop, we still got Hisoka, so we'll still got all that shit going on with the Succession War at the exact same time. So this arc ain't ending anytime soon. But I am happy Hunter x Hunter is back. This was a really great and engaging chapter throughout to come back to. Togashi's arc has been on point. It has been consistent. We didn't just get plain text for the entire chapter or for like a good portion of the chapter. We had good artwork. It just felt like, it feels like Togashi might have found his rhythm for the most part at this point. And I'm happy for that. But what do you guys feel about this chapter? How do you feel about these reveals that we got? How do you feel about the implications of beyond NETERO having kids in the Kaken Empire being soldiers with their sacrifices and maybe one of the princes being one of his children? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you like this type of video, I'm going to be covering Hunter x Hunter weekly. I don't think all of them are going to be almost 30 minutes long, but we'll see based on the information that we get in each chapter. But I'll try and keep things more brief so you guys aren't bored. But that's all I got to say for you guys. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and it shows that you guys enjoy the content on the channel and shows you want to see more. And with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.